This time we're going live, I promise.
Yep. I've got a message. We live on Facebook.
We are. Beautiful. Thank you. I don't see us anywhere. Okay. So, yep, we're live on Facebook, ready to rock and roll. Um, thank you for double checking. Okay. Well, Colin, I know that we've chatted on and off a little bit today about what's going on in the world, what we're bringing, to this planet, and one of the things that came up that I think is very, very much overlooked is ethics. And I want to have you share some of your ideas of ethics, because we get into something called, um, uh, um, let's see,
Situation ethics.
situational ethics. Thank you. Because I was going to talk about the virtue of ethics, but yes, the situational ethics and what that looks like in our society today, in the human spirit. And so, yeah, I was really hoping you could speak on situational ethics because of what we're going through on so many different levels, and we'll get into that as we continue chatting. So, how would you explain situational ethics to our listeners?
Well, simply put, situation ethics has been something that's been around for a long time, since about the 14th, 16th century, but in later years, the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, it's been expanded upon and seized upon by a lot of people, because it's a very way of being able to control your life, or other people as well, through this thing called situational ethics. And situation ethics is a system that distorts truth.
Mm.
So it says the truth is only what you see and what you wanted to see, and what you want to see. So you don't actually see what is true. You see what you want to see from the basis of your own situation. So you're not relating to the situation of other people. You're not looking at their experience of life. It becomes very much an ego-based doctrine.
Right.
Where it's literally the doctrine of the ego, where the ego becomes the most important thing in a person's life. And we only have to look around our planet and see how many people are so ego-driven because they have been indoctrinated into the system of situation ethics.
Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Yeah.
I like that you bring in the word ego. That's something that I work with a lot in with my students and with my clients. Teaching them to realize that it's those are low, that the ego is coming from the lower base chakras, right? First, second, and third, and this is where we get this is third dimension, or the third dimensional aspect of the 3D. Everyone talks about, are you 3D or 5D, right? And so would it be fair to say that with situational ethics, then we are selfish and inconsiderate, and it's all about me?
Yeah.
Me. What else can I have? What else can I take? What else do you have to give me, right? Instead of, yeah.
And it's justifying one's own fallibility and mistakes with a false justification that says what I believe in and what I want determines the way I live. So there's no absolute truth. And that is very scary, in my view, as a philosophy in life and as a way to live, because one has no frame of reference of a bigger reality.
Yeah.
So it's exclusive to the way other people think. Uh, it's exclusive to the way the nature works. It's exclusive to the natural man who is designed to be cooperative and to, um, you know, to discuss, to debate, to seek and find the truth outside of him, not inside of him. Okay, so, but the truth lies within people. But the trouble is when that truth becomes the lie,
I
okay,
love that.
that we create within ourselves,
Mhm.
okay, so it goes into a self-denial of who we are, really. And,
Yeah,
and, and so with that kind of consciousness, humans are easily manipulated.
right.
We only have to look at the way propaganda works here, and how we are propagandized. It's somebody controls the narrative. So they can spin whatever narrative they choose to spin as long as they have other ego-based humans to listen to their spin. And when those ego-based humans listen to their spin, they will believe the spin. So the narrative is very easily to control
Mhm.
because you have all these people out there indoctrinated with this notion that they are determinate of their own values. So the values of other people, the values that exist as we observe them in nature, don't exist. To them, whatever values they choose and they want to design for themselves, for their own selfish goals, they do it. So, that's why you have all these politicians who can look into the camera with a straight face and lie and deny and, you know, uh, say with a straight face that what they said last year, they didn't mean. Now the game has changed. We're creating a new spin and we hope that you're going to follow it.
That you're going to
And,
take this one. Yeah.
and then you get all these ego controlled people who will follow the spin because they understand that this being, this politician, is spinning them a story that if they buy into, they will be granted the favor of the system that they're in. And the system that they're in is money-based.
Right. That's the dominant culture,
Yeah.
right? Well, death culture, I would say, would be the dominant culture, but then that follows with, being that goes right into money, right?
Yeah.
And goes right into to all of that. Um, how how does like a normal person get past? I have ideas, but I want to hear what you have to say about how a normal person gets past their ego. How are they able to dismantle that to see absolute truth? How do you know if you're being lied to?
Yeah, it's very difficult because people have to understand we have three minds.
Hmm.
This Freud defined it as the ego and superego.
Hmm.
It is your conscious awareness of who you are. The ego is your subconscious mind, and your superego, as he said, was your God conscious mind. So, in a sense, we have that God conscious mind. And what happens here, our ego is filled with knowledge that is indoctrinated into people.
Yeah.
So nothing they have there in their ego is true. It's all somebody else's truth that
Yes.
has been indoctrinated into them. And then the id, the self, experiences that indoctrinated truth and begins to live in accordance with that indoctrinated truth. So when one begins to discover the superego, the mind of God, that is when people can get themselves out of that cycle or relationship between the self and the indoctrinated self,
Mhm.
the id and the ego, the mind and the mind and the subconscious mind. So getting out of that is not an easy process. I
No.
mean, I know because I went through that myself. I was very much an ego-driven person, living my own standards. It was okay to take drugs and it's okay to, go out and party and have sex with whoever you chose, and you just go out and have a ball. It's fun because there are no standards. Who creates the standards? One creates it from oneself. And so there's no adopted standard from one's own sensibility, sense and sensibility of what is right and wrong. We've forgotten the laws of the universe. We've forgotten the laws of what is called common law of do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impede the freedoms of others. And we break those laws all the time through our words, our actions, and our standards and values and our attitudes. And we have a kind of laissez-faire morality on this planet where we've disregarded what is natural, we've disregarded what is organic, and that has closed our minds, for, it's created a barrier between the ego and the super ego. Because I know this because it was true for me that I innately knew that what I was doing was wrong. But I was in self-denial of that because everybody was doing it.
Right. It's a self-justification, right?
Yeah,
We decide that, well, nobody's going to say anything, or, well, that person didn't say that it caused X, Y, or Z. I'm guilty of the same thing, even on the small scale of, wanting to help somebody, right? I think I'm helping. Doesn't matter if I think I'm helping somebody, it might not be a help for somebody else, right? It could be an insult. It could throw them off their balance of,
yeah,
the path that they're on. And we don't think about that. And, we just do anyway because we're ego driven, because we get driven by we don't even know what humility is, right? we have I think there's a whole bunch of having no concept of that. And I see that a lot lately with uh all of the well, just going to call it a showdown with what we got going on between different party structures. We're obviously in the middle of, I know you're not here in the United States, but you're indirectly affected by, what happens indirectly, directly, right? What happens here, with
yeah, it's happening here too.
our
Yeah,
leadership. Yeah, I think you guys have it a lot more intensely. Down. You have some crazy stuff going on down there. So you think we
yeah,
got it bad, right? But
yeah,
mm,
yeah. But the nationalist populist movement is rising in South Africa as well as it is rising in the USA, in the UK, and in Germany, and in Sweden, and in France. And it's necessary. We have to get out of this crazy system that is being run here by psychopaths and sociopaths
right.
and satanic worshippers and people who propagate lies and deceit, and they play tricks, black magic on humans all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And humans are falling for these tricks, you know.
All the time. Black
All,
magic to me, I feel that throughout our entire system. But I always have. And so I feel, I guess blessed that I can sense that, but not blessed in the sense that I can sense that. But it feels like, it's like reading an energy signature, right? And black magic to me feels, it makes me sick. like to my stomach, right? I get very nauseous, or I'll get lightheaded or dizzy. How can somebody else, it's kind of like the purging of the universal ego, like our governments are purging that ego, right? And we're having to process that. Would you say that that's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, and it goes back a long way in our history, and it's a long story, but so yeah, humans are facing a time where they have to make a big choice, because the black magic only works when it's done in secret and in darkness.
right?
They draw your attention to one thing while they're doing something else somewhere else. So,
Mm,
and then they draw your attention to that one thing because they want you to believe it. They
okay,
want you to understand it. In the meantime, they're doing something somewhere else
right,
that they insert. So they pick a card, you take a card, you focus on that card that you picked, but in the meantime, they're doing something else that will trick you into
okay,
believing that they put that card in the pack, they pull that card out, and what are they doing?
right.
It's magic.
It
They,
is magic.
it's deception.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what magic is. An illusionist, they call themselves.
I want to talk a little bit about, if you're okay, comfortable with this. I want to talk a little bit about wars. We're in a war over consciousness. This is a spiritual war. This is not something that just came up, but we don't talk about it as a spiritual war. But what we experience are actual wars, right? Like we experience actual wars. And I know that you and I were discussing. I know you've got some really great insight on some past events um, that have been devastating.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. Devastating to humanity. War is devastating to humanity, and what we're not understanding is the spiritual war. This is a war over consciousness, but we're seeing the real wars. What do you have to say about that, Colin?
Yeah, it's a spiritual war. The Bible warns us that for we do not battle against the, uh, the manifest reality, but we're fighting against the unmanifest and the principalities of darkness. And it's all energetic. Everything is energetic, and how the energies work. And fortunately, my higher selves pulled me out of my life of complacency and myopia, and they've taught me all this stuff. So I understand how it all works, and I teach that in the courses that I run. But there's a long history to this. But in recent history, what happened, because there was a rescue mission launched about 545 billion years ago, when the planet Tara was just disintegrated. There were
Yeah,
two competing beings, and these 12 fragments of Tara went through a black hole and emerged out of the black hole. Now, that's the physics of it, but the energetics of it is quite different.
yeah.
But it emerged, and these 12 planets went into rotation around the sun. And just a quick lesson on that, there were 12 planets here, but now there are only 9.
Correct.
Because one planet was Malbec, and that was the planet that the fallen ones occupied before they came to Earth. They
Maldek, right? Maldek. Yeah.
Malbak,
Okay.
and they blew Malbec up in the same way that Tara was blown up,
Right.
by causing the planetary grids within the planet to overload with electromagnetic energy, and that blew the planet up. That is now the asteroid belt. Its neighboring planet is called the planet Nibiru, which went off at an angle of 23.4 degrees off into the astral, and is now rotating around. It was drawn towards another star, Earth's our sun's binary star called Nemesis. So the Nibiru travels around Nemesis, and when Nemesis and the sun rotate around each other, that's what binary stars do, to keep them in the balance. But when Nemesis comes around from behind the sun to in front of the sun, it brings Nibiru with it.
Got it.
And when Nibiru shot off into space, it attracted a large number of asteroids with it.
Mm-hmm.
And these asteroids are still floating and revolving around Nibiru. So whenever Nibiru comes back, it brings all those asteroids with it. And those asteroids were designed by the fallen ones to create havoc on Earth.
Right.
Because they can control those asteroids. Those asteroids are not they're in a artificial situation. They should never be there.
Yeah.
But the fallen ones created that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So our higher selves and our soul families and the rescue team, the Guardian Alliance, they were quite happy to let things happen on Earth because their policy is effectively non-interference. And they don't interfere in other planetary systems or star systems unless there is one law in the universe that is inviolate, and that is when the soul template of being is fragmented, it destroys the fabric of the universe. Okay.
You're breaking up just a little bit, so I just want to.
Okay, I'll say it.
Thank you.
What happens when there's one law that's inviolate, and that is that beings may not suffer soul fragmentation. You cannot cause soul fragmentation of any soul being, whether it's human, elemental, mineral, vegetable, insect, bird. That is an inviolate law. In 1945, when the US dropped the bombs on Nagasaki, that broke universal law, this law of non-fragmentation of the soul construct of being, because the universe works in a cohesive and unitary way. So when something happens somewhere in the universe, it reverberates out into the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
And so that got the attention of our higher selves, and they thought, well, let's go look at what's happening on Earth, because it had a knock-on effect.
I think mine said, well, shit. You're
yeah,
so calm.
And when they began to observe here as the watchers, they began to observe what was happening, and they figured out that the fallen ones here were going to cause massive soul fragmentation on this planet if they were allowed to continue doing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they started, it's 1945, but they started implementing their plan in 1950. And part of that plan was to bring in extraterrestrials, to allow extraterrestrials. So we had what was that place in the US where it just escapes me the name of that place. Anyway, they started infiltrating the idea of extraterrestrials, but of course, this is all...
Area 51. Area 51, is that what you're talking about in New Mexico?
No, it was that place where a flying saucer was found.
Oh my gosh, if one of our listeners knows that, please pop it on here, but go ahead.
In 1948, I just can't remember the town where it happened. But anyway, then in 1950, the plan started to be implemented. Now, there are many plans to this whole story. When I say plan, the final plan is to rescue humanity and to help the planet to ascend, okay, and to help humans to ascend, to get onto a different timeline of experience. So what they did is in the 50s, they started introducing a large number of indigo soul beings,
Right.
okay, myself included, who have come from somewhere else in some other time-space continuum, agreed to we contracted to come and live on Earth and to assist Earth. But of course, once we arrived here, our souls, our memories are wiped through they're called the blank slate technology that existed on the planet. It no longer exists, it's gone. But so our memories were wiped, and slowly but surely they're starting to awaken, all those indigos. And then came a wave of what are called star seeds. Now, the indigos are mainly beings that came from Sirius B, and the star seeds are mainly beings that came from the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm.
And by inhabiting souls, I don't know if people will know this, that's when the population explosion grew.
Yeah.
Because all these souls coming from other beings to occupy the embodiments of humans. And so many people on this planet are actually, they come from somewhere else. They haven't been in this rotation system on Earth, but they come from somewhere else, and they come here and they think, there's something wrong with this planet.
Something greatly wrong with this planet. Yeah.
There's something seriously wrong. As a young child, I mean, from a young age, I always knew there was something seriously wrong with this planet.
Yeah.
And because nothing made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And many people are out there and they don't understand that this planet is crazy. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, then came the 70s. I was recruited as a grid keeper in 2006. They'd recruited a large number of grid keepers. Many of them were doing grid keeping work anyway, but they weren't aware of it, but that's what they did. Because essentially a grid keeper is a being who runs a certain frequencies in their soul bodies that is able to transfer and transmit and transfer energy around the planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you can even walk into a place. Some people, like myself, can go in and change the entire frequency and vibration throughout. Throughout is a massive square miles that we set our minds to. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2014, and what we were essentially doing, we were trying to correct the imbalance between the Earth's rotational spin and its magnetic fields, so that we began to align the magnetic fields with the rotational spin of Earth. And also there was something called the Atlantean Pylon Interface Network, the APIN system, which had been manipulated into the Earth's energy grids to keep control of the energy fields of the Earth. So we had to clear those. We had to realign the Earth's magnetic fields and reestablish the Earth's Merkaba field.
Right.
And that was done in 2014. So that's all being corrected. And at the same time, our soul families, the Galactic Federation and the Guardian Alliance, were working to get the off-planetary fallen ones out of our system, out of our planetary system and out of our solar system. So they fought a war in 2014 in April on a planet called Saturn. And Saturn was the transmitting agent, or the transmitter, the primary transmitter for the frequencies that created a magnetic repulsion field around the Earth, so that Earth lost its ability to connect with the universal energy systems. So it was a captured planet.
Right.
And that existed from about 26,000 years ago. And so Earth's been captured in this magnetic repulsion zone. And when the Guardian Alliance realized what was happening here, they had to take down the fallen ones off planet. And they did that in 2014. And then they told me that what we had to do on Earth, because they won't directly intervene here, they would use people like myself and many, many others who would begin to wake up and understand what is going on in this planet to get rid of the fallen ones, okay, that are incarnated on the planet. And believe me, that about a third of adults on this planet are fallen angelic beings. You know, that's why we have this predominance of situation ethics. These beings are not human.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the consciousness that is of satanic origin and Luciferian origin.
Mm-hmm. And there is a difference between satanic and Luciferian, correct?
Yeah, but in essence, Lucifer led the Lucifer rebellion, you know, many billions of years ago, when the universe was first created, and they created the universe. Lucifer led the
Luciferian rebellion.
Yeah, and many beings, they began to recruit many other beings from all over the universe. Yeah. And so they've been the invasion beings. They've invaded planets and star systems and created, you know, their satanic systems all over the universe. But they've been on Earth for about, you know, 26,000 years. Mm-hmm. Well, they took over Earth 26,000 years ago, but they were here a lot longer. But because the humans on the planet actually agreed to go along with the satanic agenda at the time to bring in a new moon that actually tilted the Earth off its rotational spin, our soul families thought, well, we can leave humans to their own devices and they must accept what's coming to them, until 1945, when they realized that there was a much bigger agenda by the fallen and fragment the soul template of Earth, all the nature. Yeah. So this is a kind of a rescue mission. Then in 2014, what they did is they contacted a large number of military leaders on planet and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fight this war on Saturn, but we'd like you to watch it. So you understand how the powerful technologies and weaponry we've got.
It's massive. And then I just want to add, I want to just see, oops, my, 1 second. Sorry, I won't be able to see very well if I don't have this on. There we go. Thank you. So with Saturn, the way that I see Saturn and how we get into that magnetic pole is Saturn communicates to the moon. The moon then distorts our magnetic fields here on Earth, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it goes from Saturn to Jupiter, from Jupiter to Mars, from Mars to the moon, and then from moon to the Earth. Okay. And the purpose, it's very advanced technology, but effectively what they did, they create this magnetic repulsion zone around Earth. And then the blank slate technology system that comes through Saturn will beam in frequencies and information. Basically, they're just feeding information. And all that information is designed to control humans. So humans have been, in our modern history, known history, humans have been doing the same things over and over and over again and getting the same results. So they've been creating wars and they've experienced chaos, but that comes from the blank slate technology systems that they've been beaming onto this planet. It's called self-defeating behavior. And as long as they keep humans in the cycle of self-defeating behavior, they're going to win. So we have to realize that this is a long-standing battle that goes back 45 billion years ago. And in more recent times, since about 1950, because another thing that our soul family realized, that Nibiru is due to return into our solar system in about 1945. Okay. Now we're in an essential cycle which started in 2012, 21st of December 2012, and it lasts 33 years. So there's a window of opportunity where the universal portals open up and will allow transcendence of higher dimensional beings from one space-time continuum to another space-time continuum. And this happens all over the universe. But it shuts down in 2045, 33 years after the opening of, and there's a lot of other drama going on with the ascension cycle that I won't go into now, but
Yeah, there's a lot of different plans that have been tossed out there, right? Like, okay, let's go to plan B. Okay, wait, hold on, maybe plan B didn't work. We need to try this other thing.
yeah.
I've noticed, Colin, and you're talking about the APIN networks, which I find very fascinating. That particular timeline, when we're talking about the Atlantean cataclysms and we get into I forget what the term is, but how the pyramids are create certain energies. These for me, like something that I'm seeing in session work coming up is the fact that we're having this opportunity to embody our soul, which is opening up memories, right? This is fourth dimension. So this is opening up memories from the Atlantean cataclysms, from the Egyptian timelines, from Yeshua, and all of this stuff that is coming in. And I don't. I'm excited to take your courses, and I'm only a little of the ways in to understand the mechanics of the ascension and the mechanics of all of this, because that'll help me understand what I see as well. But how do you how do we put into perspective somebody's pain on the like war over consciousness or something like that, because that pain was so big then and we were unplugged from that, right? So we don't remember. So basically what I'm saying is it through these networks of, well, I guess I'm going to say corrections that are happening, that we're having more than just our seeing our political front now as a war, or seeing the wars that have happened, seeing the Hiroshima stuff. Is it also, could it be because these memories are coming through from these past timelines, and we're having to like acclimate to that, and is it changing the mechanics of our body? Maybe that's my question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to change our physical bodies in dramatic ways. But having said that, there's an agenda by the fallen ones here to try to destroy as much and to control. And they want to create humankind into a kind of AI being that they control. So we become total robots. That's their true agenda here. But it's not going to win. So just going back to the military display that happened, what happened was that the military then spoke to their political leaders about what they had been shown. And their political leaders began to get worried because their military leaders were worried because they realized they were defenseless against the advanced weaponry, because military people love weapons, so they were really impressed with the weaponry of our soul families. And so they began to speak to the political leaders who wanted to dismiss all of this. But then they got hold of a guy called Donald Trump. And they explained to him what was going on and made him aware of the war, the energetic war that's really going on this planet.
Yeah.
And they said that they would support him if he would be prepared to fight this battle, this energetic war, on the political front, because it's the politics that gets the newspapers talking. It gets the optics of people, and so this guy got voted in 4 years ago to become the president of the United States, and immediately there was an attack on him.
Yeah.
And there's just been one attack after the other, because the controllers of this world realize that if they don't get rid of him, people are going to wake up more and more and more.
Boy, we're just going to know the truth, aren't we?
Yeah. And the truth is coming out, because it takes time for truth to come out, because it's a process. And so we're going through that process at the moment. And then you have many other beings that are supporting Donald Trump, who have been told about this. They have been told about the amazing rescue mission that's going on this planet. And many of them have forsaken their old ways and have, conscripted into this new philosophy of national, what's the word I'm looking for? Nationalist populists, so that you return the power to the people.
Yeah.
Okay. And was essentially what, and when that is done, and also there's going to be a disclosure of the wizard behind the curtain. Well, they're
This
not
just
just
made my heart sing.
all the wizards behind the curtain, we're going to be in there like the king with no clothes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the I don't know, the truther community, the spiritual community, the awakening, I don't know what word you want to use, but there are many of us that, myself included, I think that I speak on behalf of you as well, not even political people, right? Just, we kind of knew democracy was a trap. None of it's real anyway. We're just going to plug along and just do what we need to do. And now all of a sudden, many of us have had an awareness. We've had an awakening. And now all of a sudden, like I find myself even being like, oh my gosh, you guys have to see this, because look at what's happening. Look at what DT is doing right now to awaken the population. And yeah, that when I saw, I mean, certainly he wasn't my choice, right? I didn't vote for Hillary either, but that's not the point, right? Like I noticed the hatred go up and up and up, and I thought, what is happening to humanity right now? This is, I've never seen so much hatred ever. And you only see that kind of hatred when it's the Antichrist against the Christ. That's all I have to say about that. And what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, those are terms that most people would understand, but I understand the energetics of it, because if you look at Trump, one of the first things that he came out with is he attacked the press and called them fake news.
Yeah.
And he's continued with this so that people are waking up and say, well, maybe the news is fake. And a lot of people are woken up to the fact that the news has bought into this agenda of situation ethics. And they are spewing this information that they prescribe the narrative, and they expect people to follow it. And that's what they've been doing for, since the press were invented. And so they now are finding out that they're not controlling the narrative. And there are a lot of people going to alternative sources of information like what we're doing now. Like people are watching this and saying, jeepers, there is something out there that's much bigger than what we've been told. And so what we're doing is, I think, is very important in the overall scheme of things to get the truth out there, make people more aware, because once you shine the light of truth into the dark, the black magic disappears.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only hope for mankind. The other one that the people have to realize that they've been controlled in low frequency timelines. So what they're experiencing is a sequence of events that keep repeating themselves over and over and over again, just the shape and the form and the characters that are different. But if you look at the history of humanity, they're doing the same thing over and over, and they get the same result. In order to lift people out of this timeline, it's up to individuals to take responsibility for three things: their thoughts and emotions. Take back control of your thoughts and emotions. Don't buy into the narrative that's been spun. Do your own research. Take back and reclaim who you are, and reclaim your soul energy. Your emotions, they're also conditioned to have a certain response to certain narratives. So they use this thing of, create a problem, devise a solution, and then, create a problem, devise a reaction, and then offer a prescribed solution. This is called the Hegelian dialect. And then the second thing we have to do, we have to raise our standards and values. Okay. And if our standards and values that we will listen to everybody else outside there, but I don't matter. So my standards is just about self-preservation, but not the preservation of mankind, of everybody. We need to raise our standards and values here. And then we need to learn to have attitudes of mastery. And on my webpage, I've got a list of attitudes of mastery, and people can learn that, because our thoughts and emotions create the timeline of potential.
Yes.
Our standards and values create a timeline of probability, and our attitudes determine the timeline of possibility. So we have the potential, we have to create the probability and create the possibility. And as long as we keep being trapped in this moral degenerate cycle, we won't be able to raise our frequencies to a higher frequency, and therefore experience a different timeline.
Right.
That's how energy works. That's how timelines work.
Yeah, interesting. I've never heard timelines explained like that, and that was absolutely beautiful. And it actually ties in. Ian has a question, and he says, does Colin think Trump is Christic or Luciferian? And with the timelines of probability, I can see where, and I see this all the time, people actually think that there is that Trump is Luciferian, or maybe was, but has changed the timeline and embodied something different. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Trump is just like us. He's learning.
Yeah.
He's not sitting up there as the king in the castle. He's just one of us, and we're all just making our way home. So he's not embodying the Christ. He's doing what we are doing. We're trying to embody Christ's consciousness. He's doing a damn good job as far as I'm concerned, but he's doing no better a job than you and I are doing in raising the consciousness of this planet. But he's doing a very important job because he has the optics. He has people focusing on what he says and what he does. And since he's become the president, before he became president, I was very critical of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about American politics. And then in 2016, when he stood up and said he was running for president, my higher self said to me, pay attention. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay. So I watched that statement where he said he was going to, on the day that he announced his candidacy for the presidency. And then I watched every single Trump rally. And I watched it critically because I wanted to believe that it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of that. I wanted to believe it wasn't true. People that were, like, oh, this can't be. This is my higher self. I've been infiltrated somehow. This is incorrect. And yet here we are finding out, oh my gosh, no, my higher self knew, or this particular group of beings knew and were familiar with that. I want to see if anybody listening. We have a few people watching. I was going to say watchers. I always have so many questions for you, and I appreciate your patience with me because my mind bounces everywhere. Sometimes I can't, that's something I'm working on pulling together. It's just I have so many things. And you mentioned that. When Tara exploded, and the way I see Tara is the soul of Earth. Like Tara was the soul of Earth is kind of how I envision that. And then there were another specific planet that exploded during some galactic wars is a planet called Tiamat. Are you familiar with Tiamat?
Yeah.
Like I have memory of that. I remember being on a ship, and I remember looking out the window saying, "My beloved planet is gone," and I still get emotional thinking about that. Right? And we, the star seeds that have come down and came. I actually came from Galactic Center, and am Lyran by energetics, I guess, but I ended up in the Pleiades and came here from the Pleiades, right? So all these memories are, starting to like tie in. And where I was going with this was about, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it was going back to the APIN network. And I can't remember what my question was because I get so in my mind sometimes.
Yeah.
But
If I can jump in here, because what happened on Tara and Tiamat actually created the notion of refugees.
thank you. Okay, yeah. And then how does that tie into the rescue mission then here? Are those, that's where, thank you for that comment, because I'm seeing how does that tie into the rescue mission? And then that's not even being aware of it until Hiroshima, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there have been various seedings on Earth, and our soul families have been intimately involved in this whole process of Earth's development over, 545 billion years. And humans have kept letting them down in terms of their development and behavior. So the first seeding ended with an electric war, and then came the second seeding of Earth, and then that ended with a flood, and then there came the third seeding of Earth about 245,000 years ago. And they were doing all sorts of things to to get into the energetics with the morphogenetic fields of the planets in our solar system. And Earth holds the the um, the energetics of Tara's heart chakra.
Okay.
So it became central to gathering all the planets. And and having said that, when they realized that once Malbec had been destroyed, they weren't going to be able to reconstruct the entire morphogenetic field of Tara. So they kind of gave up on Earth and let humans do their own thing. But now they're back. They're interested in what's going on because they've been watching here. And they've been watching how people are waking up. Like when my higher selves came to me and they started speaking to me, they were watching to see how I would react
Right.
to the information I was giving. And if I could hold the energy within my soul body to hold that information, and, because I agreed to it before I incarnated here to do what I'm doing, and they wanted to see if I could hold that energy. And they did that with a lot of people, and people have been able to hold their energy and begin to understand it and use that. And it's happening all over the place. And what this is doing in raising the frequencies of the entire planet. But there's so many different things that have to be done in order to save the planet that it's imperative that people understand that they have a personal responsibility to take control of their thoughts and their emotions, and to go to establish new standards and values, and to hold their attitudes of mastery. Because those three things together project us onto a new timeline. And people don't understand, understand it from the energetic point of view. People can't say, how can the earth just suddenly change form? And, but the earth is just a holographic projection
Right.
of the underlying energies that exist within that framework. And that hologram is based on something called the Universal Creation and Design Template. Okay, no, I won't get into what that is, but
Not this time.
and so the reality is not that difficult to understand if you understand the basic energetics of how it's constructed, because it's all constructed according to a divine plan, a much bigger plan in the universe. And the way energy works, and it flows, and it comes from somewhere, and it's going somewhere, and it's going to do something, have effect. It has a knock-on effect, where everything in the universe is connected to everything else. But what was introduced here was what is called separation consciousness. So, the Bible records it as the Tower of Babel, when people looked at each other and they'd forgotten who they were, and they'd forgotten who these other people were, and they were afraid of each other, and they had a confusion of languages, and they broke up into, so the human consciousness was severely damaged in 25,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and that consciousness of separation is what fogs our minds and our hearts when we can't accept that the universe is one thing. There is no God out there. Everything is God.
And that's the
Everything.
bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible for creator to be separated from his creation. It's impossible.
Yeah. It is impossible. You bring up the Tower of Babel, and that is the scrambling of our DNA language, right? Of the crystalline energies. Am I understanding that correctly? So,
Yeah.
and it's actually the way that I comprehend and understand it. I've been studying a lot of, I don't know if you know who she is, but Lisa Renee's work. And so she has something called an ascension glossary, and you can pretty much put in anything and at least get a general idea, right? And And when we talk about this, it looks like being connected to like our glandular system. And, we get these implants, and this is what we talk about ego, right? Or these things, they're implants in our bodies that keep us from not um, understanding and living in fear. And there's no memory, there's no recollection of anything. And you say, people think, you had said, people think, well, how can you just change the planet? How can you just, and the thing is, we've been slowly working on this for a long time. But what
Yeah,
you're saying, Colin, is if enough of us actually cleared the ego, raising our vibration and frequency, literally, I don't know what you think, but literally, I think, couldn't it change almost overnight? Because
absolutely.
because of the holographic construct as reality.
We are very powerful creator beings. We are creators. We co-create with the universe. And if we understand how the universe works, all we would have to do is go into camp for 3 years and learn how it works, and we change everything.
Yeah, those are classes. I don't know about you, but I remember as a child, not on this planet, sitting in classes about learning about these things. And so again, that's why I'm excited to take your classes, because I know that it's going to bring back this memory. And I invite people that when you take Colin's courses, should you choose to, it's going to, if you just relax and allow your mind and your heart to open up, this information is going to pour into you, and it's going to become a piece of who you are. You're going to remember. And, instead of blocking, and then I'm not saying don't question, right? But allowing it to flow in, and remembering it's, once we have an opportunity to receive truth, then we become truth, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a process, but I went through that process over a period of 3 years where I wrestled with it, fought with it, researched it, tried to deny it, tried to say it doesn't exist. And they kept reminding me and showing me things around me that confirmed what they were telling me. And I got to stage, I said, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Kicking and screaming.
Because
La la
if
la 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 la.
if I actually knew and I could see and understand, it would separate me from everyone else. I would have to change my lifestyle. I would have to change everything I knew. I couldn't be able to communicate with people anymore because I understood talking a totally different language from them, and it was horrendous, the crisis that I went through. But once I got over that and I said, all right, I commit to this, I made a commitment that I will go out there and change the world. And I'm so glad I did, because, yeah, I'm seeing the world is changing.
It is. Thank you for making that choice.
Yeah, well, look, many other people did as well. It
Yes.
wasn't just me. It was
Yeah,
a
there's,
whole bunch of us.
but I
Yeah,
love, but each person we meet, honoring each other along the path, and still honoring where other people are as well, because it doesn't happen. It's happening faster and faster, right? But seeing the love in every moment, and that includes seeing the love in our fellow beings in humanity that are really struggling, especially now. Um, it's like the band-aid is ripped off, and it's painful, it's uncomfortable, and there are going to be people kicking and screaming, right?
yeah,
But the end is that when we are heart-based and heart-centered and coming from a space of love, which is the ultimate of all unity, right? We are unity. then we understand and see more clear. It increases patience, it increases understanding, and it's based in truth. And those are the universal truths that Colin and I are here to share.
Yeah, our morality has to change from the head morality to the heart.
Yeah.
And the heart is love. Now, how can you say you love somebody if you're impatient with them?
Yeah.
How can you say you love somebody if you don't respect them? How can you say you love somebody if you don't have compassion for them? You know, so we have to re-examine our values in terms of that standard of love, so that we begin to be emotionally intelligent beings and realize that we have to adjust our standards and values here. We can't say we believe in peace and then create wars. We can't believe in love and murder other people. That's not love. So when we dramatically change our standards and values to, and I accepted this in 2006, I said to my higher self, anything less than love is not acceptable to me. And I try to live that on a daily basis. I don't expect it from other people, and I don't expect it from myself. You know, so I'm not just saying, you know, it's love for me, you know, it's my values. I won't accept it from other people. When other people come make a noise in my surroundings, I say, no, look, go somewhere else and do that, not in my space.
Yes.
But likewise, when I treat other people, if I treat them in any way, anything less than love is not acceptable. You know, not from me at all. And that's how we have to adjust our values and standards on this planet. You know, that where it's not the 10 commandments, it's not morals and ethics, it's love.
Yeah.
And how we treat each other and how we treat the planet and how we treat everything around us, you know. How can we say we love the insects and grateful for them when we stomp them and we feed them pesticides that kill them and destroy them? You know, it's just madness. It's a kind of a standard that is so confusing to everybody because they don't understand it. We say one thing and we do another thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
Over
it's
and
when,
over again.
yeah. And if we say one thing and do it, then that creates a standard for ourselves. And that is a very powerful thing for anybody to have, is to be able to live according to that standard, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch, and you can change a situation very quickly, an argument with somebody very quickly, just by holding that vibration of love and seeing love in that moment. You know, because sometimes we can't, you know, I couldn't, you know, shun my child out of the house, right? But and I could, you know, if they're coming at me or whatever the case may be, but if I hold that love, it automatically will shift and change. I I suggest everybody try that for a week, right? Until you meet with Colin and I again. Try to look at challenging situations through the eyes of love. And you know, even in your inner self, when you're looking at somebody, just say, "I love you." You know, you don't have to say it out loud, but just feel that and express that out into the situation. Somebody's being so unkind, or whatever the case may be. Just you know, I am loved through you, or I am loving you through this. Whatever words you choose, include love in there, right? And just watch how it literally changes everything. The way you see something, the way you feel, the way you're thinking, everything. And not just you, but the other person.
Yeah, and what you accept from other people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't accept anything less than love from them.
Right.
And if they are behaving anything, so for our children,
Yeah.
when they behave in an unloving way, you say, no, go somewhere else and do that, not in my space.
Yeah.
In my space, this is the standard. And if we get our children and our societies and our families and, you know, the whole of our societies working on the standard and changing this, our standards and morals and values, getting out of this timeline of repression and oppression on this planet is a cinch.
Yeah.
It's easy.
It is. It is.
It's universal law. That's how you get out of, that's how you change timelines through your thoughts, emotions, standards, values, and attitudes.
Yeah. I think we might have just found our next topic for next week, because I would love to talk about timelines and how those are connected to. I know we're out of time, so I want to honor your time and everyone's time. I didn't see any more question. If anyone's on here that wants to pop on a question, please feel free to do so. And we'll also answer questions in the feed. I know there are quite a few of you that popped on to watch today, and then sometimes we don't catch the live, and that's okay too. So, but we will answer those questions if you have any. And sometimes, you know, people don't want to ask questions in public. That is also okay. Feel free to inbox one of us, because whoever you have the question to, or whatever the case may be, and we'll answer your question privately too. So feel free to ask there. Thank you, Ian. Ian saying thank you to Colin and Chastity. Thank you so much, everybody that's shown up today. And we will see everybody again really soon. We're going to have a drawing. I'm going to put people's names, everyone that was able to watch today. I'm going to figure out how to do that so it's fair for everybody. I know there are some really fun apps, and it will just magically appear a name. We'll get that up and going soon. And so keep your eyes peeled. We'll make sure that it's in a link with this video connected to it, so everybody can see what's going on. Other than that, please check out, you guys, this is life-changing, the writings by Colin Byrne. He has amazing information to share, and is able to work more closely with each of you, should you choose that, to help you understand and be prepared for how your body is ascending and changing mechanically, because it's really important to understand. It affects our personality too, right? Our emotions, our mental state. So I'll be really excited to see everybody next week. Any last words, Colin? Good. See you guys later.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so grateful to be able to do this, and so grateful for you, Chastity, for allowing me to do it. Love everyone, and I'm grateful to all of you.
So much love, you guys. I'm so grateful for this. This is fun. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.